talk about variables in Java. So this is in Java. A variable is a name given to a memory location. It is the basic unit of source. Suppose there is a memory location say put something variable is there, that value we can change in the program location. A variable is only a name given to a memory location. All the operations that are on the variable affects the memory location. Variable is only a name given to a memory location. It's a name, just name for the memory location. All the operations that are on the variable affects that memory location. Whatever it represents the memory location of the particular thing, right? So whatever the operations we have done on the variable, that name is the name, it will affect the memory location. In Java, all variables must be declared before use. So in Java, all variables must be declared before use. Suppose we are declaring some variables a, b, we are using some string a plus b. So how do you perform the a plus b operation? What is a and b? The JVM doesn't know the a and b. So we need to at the end starting of the program we need to declare the variables at the start of the program. A, B, what is this type? A lot of types are there, int or string or int or any non-primitive data types. So those type of things we need to integral variables. So int account, int count. So count is a variable. Int is a type. It's a data type. It is a data type and count is a name. This is called variable. Type of the data that can be stored in this variable. Whatever the type we are giving, some memory location is there, and this is a count type of variable, and in this, whatever the data stored in this variable, that's an integer, like 5, 6, what the number is there, we give it to the variable. The name means whatever the name we are giving to the variable, that is called name. In this way, a name can only be given to a memory location. It can be assigned values into two ways. A name can only be given to a memory location. It can be assigned values in two ways. Variable initialization, assigning value by taking. So, whatever the name we given to the memory location can be assigned values in two ways. First of all, variable initialization and assigning value by taking input. So how to initialize the variables? We will see that. Here see the RAM int is equals to 20. 20 is the value. And this is int is a data type and age is a variable name. So this is a memory location we call. This is our memory for the variable age is a 20. Data type. Type of the data that can be stored in the variable. Whatever the data is stored in the memory location, this variable that is called data type. Here the data type is int. Variable name given to the variable. Is the value, initial value stored in the variable. Examples, float, simple interest. This float is a data type and simple interest is a variable. The complete is a declaring float variable. And int time equals to 10 and speed equals to 20. Declaring an initialization int is a variable. We are declaring that int time equals to 10 and speed equals to 20. Declaring an initialization of the integer variable. Here the int time is equal to 10 and speed equal to 20. Here we are initializing. Initializing means assigning some values to the variable. Char var equals to which. Wherever the char we are giving, we need to give in here a single quotes. The variable is a var is a variable name and char is a data type. Declaring and initializing the character variable. There are three types of the variables in Java. So whatever the variables, a variable is a name given to the some particular of the memory location. Value stored in a variable can be changed with the program execution. The variables must be declared before the use of the variable in program. And here, name can only be given location. It can be assigned values in two ways. Variable initialization, assigning value by taking input. how to um, name can only be given to a memory location, can be assigned values in two ways. A memory, whatever the memory location we given the name, that one is a name. And for the variable, how to initialization, variable initialization and assigning value by taking input. And how to initialize a variable. Just like int is equals to 20, 20 is the value of the variable, is the variable, and int is the data type. So like that we can define data type means type of the data which stored in a variable. And a variable name is the name given to the variable. And value is the initial value stored in the variable. So this type. So types of the variables are three types of variables. One is the local variables, instance variables, and static variables. Let us now learn about each of these variables in detail. Local variables. A variable defined within a block or method or constructor is called local variable. Local variables. A variable defined within a block or method or constructor is called local variable. Within the block, some particular curly braces, that block or some method, suppose add method, add of. So that inside you declare some local variables, constructor, whatever the constructor you define, that one. So all the methods of block or constructor is called a local variable. These variables are created when the block is entered or the function is called and destroyed after exiting from the block or when the call returns from the function. These variables are created when the block is entered or the function is called and destroyed after exiting the block or method when call returns from the function. When the variable is created, the block is entered or the function is called. Otherwise, after the whenever it finishes, it is destroyed after exiting from the block or when the call returns from the function. The scope of these variables exists only within the block in which the variable is declared. The scope of this variable exists only within the block. So what is the variable scope? The scope of these variables exists within the block in which the variable is declared. That is, we can access these variables only within that block. Like suppose some method is there, add method. If you declare a variables inside int a comma int b, so if out of the class and you have another int delete method, so you have int a and int b. So there is no difference. There is no relation between that a and b in add method and this a and b in the deletion. So this is all particularly like belongs to the particular method only. A and b is local variable add method, and here a and b is the local variable deletion method. So the scope of these variables exists only within the block in which the variable is declared. That is, we can access these variables within the block. Initialization of local variable is mandatory. Like in the add method you declared int a comma b. So you need to initialize like int a equals to 0, int b equals to 0. Like you need to give some initialization to the variables. Sample problem. Details is a class is there and public void student age. Student age is a method here and the student details is a class and what is this type? Public type. And student age is a method and void is a return type and the public is a modifier, access modifier. Local variable age int age equals to 0. So this is a what is this? Age is a variable, int is a data type, and this is the value. So local variable age equals to int age equals to 0 and age equals to age plus 5. So here the equation age already initialized with a 0. So what is the age? 0 plus 5 equals to age equals to 5. System of println system age is plus age. It's a concatenation operator and age is a we are getting this one. Public static void main student details. We are creating an object for the student details class equals to new student details. So this is a constructor. Wherever the new is there, we are creation of the we are assigning some values. We are creating some memory location for the class. That is a like instantiation of an object. And how to call a method? We need some object, right? So here you go, the object dot. What is the method is the student age. So we are calling this method. So we are getting 5. Like this, we can creating a local variables within the method. This belongs to only student age method. Next, in the above program, the variable age is local to the function student age. If we use the variable age outside of student age function, the compiler will produce an error shown in the below outside of the student age. That's it. Local variable age equals to 0, age equals to 5. Using local variable age outside its scope, system out println age is plus age. So you are not calling the method, you are directly getting the age. So program Java error cannot find simple. System dot out println system student age is age. Like this, we can we can't access. Just we need to create a class object, and if for accessing the local variable of this method, we need to call this method student age. So like that, we need to get that variable age allocation. Instance variables. Instance variables are non-static variables and are declared in a class outside any method, constructor, or block. Instance variables are non-static variables. These are non-static variables. Static, what is static variable means? We need to get the variable with only the class name. So these are non-static variables are declared in a class outside of the method or constructor or group. As instance variables are declared in a class, these variables are created when an object of the class is created and destroyed when the object is destroyed. As instance variables are declared in a class, these variables are created when object of the particular class is created and destroyed when the object is destroyed. So here the student details is the class. If you declare like uh, um, string name equals to null, we need to initialization or not initialization. So okay, string name. So name is another particular property of the student, right? String name. So that name, when the variable initialization will happen, whenever we are creating an object for the student details here. So if you call dot object dot name, then you can get the name. So it will create when you create the object for the particular class, and it will destroy once the object is destroyed. Unlike local variables, we may access specifiers for the instance variables. We may use access specifiers for the instance variables. If we do not specify any access specifier, then the default access specifier will be used. The specifiers are there: public, default, private, and protected. Access modifiers are there in Java. So unlike local variables, we may use access specifiers for instance variables if we do not specify any access specifier like string name. And before that, if you put the public, it will available all over any class or any package or anything. If you make it as a private, it will particularly belongs to the class. If you make it protected, it will only belongs to the class, and it will belongs to the same package within the package. I think so. And protected means it is belongs to same class, and what is inherited by the class will get the access protected. So like that, if you are not giving any access modifier, that is the default access modifier will be used. Initialization of instance variables is not mandatory. We already said it. String name equal to null. So for the local variables, you need to must initialize the variables. For the instance variables, you don't need to initialize the variables. Its default value is 0. Instance variable can be accessed only by creating objects. So how we need to access the instance variable? By creating an object. So what is an instance variables? Instance variables are non-static variables are declared out of the method, constructor, or class. In instance variables are declared in a class. These variables are created when an object of the class is created and destroyed when the object destroyed. Unlike local variables, we may use some specifiers for the instance variables. If we do not specify anything, it will use the default. And initialization of instance variables is not mandatory. It is default value is 0. Instance variables can be accessed by creating the objects. So that is the difference for the instance variables. Here you go, class marks. Marks is a class. Variables are instance variables. These variables are in class and are not inside any function. So engineering marks, English marks. This one, maths marks, 5 marks. So these are all the variables. So what it type data type is an int type. All three are the int data types. One is because marks are in the integer form. So these variables are instance variables. These variables are in a class and are not inside any function. So you see that there is no particular method is there for the class. We just specify at the starting of the class. Generally, the general practice is if any instance variables if we have the main variables, you need to define at the beginning of the class. That is a general practice. Then there you go, you can define the constructor. Then you can define the methods. That's a general practice. You can define your own class. So here these are all the instance variables. So this is the one class and first object. How to get the instance variables by creating an object. So we need to create an object for the class. Marks object 1 equals to new marks. And how to get the marks this objects object 1 dot engineering mark, object 1 dot maths marks, object 1 dot I marks. So here you are getting the variables and you are assigning some values. And also you are creating another object, object 2, and you are assigning for the object LT 60 different values. And this one is 85. So displaying marks for the first object. What is the first object? Object 1. So SOP marks for the first object. We are printing a some string and system out dot println of object dot one engineering marks. You would like to get for the object one. First you initialize and you are getting the marks now. So three things. And here also same way object two also we are getting the 3 marks. So marks for the first object is 50, 80, 90 and marks for the second object 80, 60, 85. So we are getting the all the initializing instance variable for the object one and object two. So this is the format we need to get the instance variables of any class. As you can see in the above program, the variables engineering marks, maths, mark, 5 marks, instance variables. In case we have multiple objects as in the above program, each object will have own copies of instance variables. It is clear from the above output that each object will have its own copy of instance variables. You see that the instance variables are same for every class, but each own copy for these instance variables. They have a different copy of the instance variables, and this one have a different copy of the instance variables. Own copies. The third one is the static variables. Static variables are known as the class variables. We already said instance variables are the non-static variables. Static variables means it represent with the class variables. Whenever you would like to get the static variable, you need to call by the class. So those are the things that are called static variables. Unlike instance variables, we can only have one copy of a static variable per class, irrespective of how many objects we created. We can only have one copy of static variable per class. Per class, we have only one object, one copy of the static variable, irrespective of how many objects we created. Static variables are created at the start of the program execution and destroyed automatically when the execution ends. Initialization of static variable is not mandatory, its default value is 0. So static variable when they are created at the start of the program execution and it will destroy when the execution is ends. If we access a static variable like instance variable through an object, the compiler will show the warning message input of the program. The compiler will replace the object name to class name automatically. Like suppose like one object you here is you put static int engineering marks. So this one you can't get it by the object one dot engineering marks. You need to call by the class name marks dot engineering marks. If you would like to get these engineering marks by the object, then the compiler all will like automatically replace with the marks and it will give you the this instance variable engineering marks. Like that, we need to access the static variable by the class name. If we access the static variable without the class name, compiler will automatically adopt the class name. To access these static variables, we need to static variables, we need not to create an object of the class. We can simply access the variable as class name dot variable name. We already discussed about this. But a sample program is a class employing something above, and the variables are the salary and string name. Public static double salary public static string name equal to hash. So public static double salary. Salary, what is this? A variable name. Double is a data type. Static is a keyword and public is an access modifier. So public static string name equal to hash. And we will need to initialize the variable, the static variables, right? Like here you need to put the empty like zero or like that. So these are the static variables. Accessing static variables without object. Amp means it's a class name. And per salary equals to 1000. We are initializing the salary variable. So now amp name plus average salary equals to 1000. So the name plus average salary is a 1000. What are the instance variable versus static variable difference? Each object will have its own copy of instance variable, whereas we can only one copy of the static variable per class irrespective of how many objects we create. So here, the previous example, we created the object one had three different copies, object two has a different copies, and object three had each different copies of the engineering math marks and Python marks. But in static variable, the variable value is the same for anything. Changes made in an instance variable using the object will not be reflected in other objects as each object has a own copy of the instance variable. Like object one, for the object one, you give us some different values for the marks, English marks, and Python marks. And object two, you give the different values for the object different object three, you are giving the different marks. But the first value is never changed, and the second value never changed, and the third value never changed. Why? Because the different has its own copy of the instance variable. But in case of static, changes will be reflected in other objects as static variables are common to all object of the class. So if you change the static variable, the value of the other objects also will be changed. We can access instance variables to the object references and static variables can be accessed directly using the class name. How to access the these variables to the object references. Static variables we can get access directly by the class name. Syntax for the static instance variable, static int here. This is a static variable and int b is the instance variable. So this is the all overview of three types of variables in Java. And we can, in further future classes, we can discuss about static variable, how to change the value and what are the limitations and how it's changed. Like here the static variable, you see the public. If you put the private or default or protected, the different type of scenarios we will see in future projects. So this is the video about the three variables. What the first variable is a local variable, and the second variable is what is the variable? A variable is a name to the given memory location. It can be like, variable values stored in a variable can be changed during the program execution, and also the variables you need to must declare before it's used. And how to initialization a variable in case equals to 20, that what is the value. Data type means what are the data? Type of the data stored in the variable. Variable name means the name given to the variable, and value means it is the initial value stored in the variable. Load simple interest, declaring a float variable, mean time equal to 10, speed equals to 20. This type of are all the different type of variables. Local variables actually this is defined as the inside the method, inside the constructor, or what is that, the block. Those are called local variables. And the scope of these variables exists only to the particular method whenever we are like out of the method exiting from the block or method or constructor, it will destroy. And local variable of instantiation is a mandate. This is the example. And the other one, instance variable. Instance variables are the non-static variables. It belongs to the class and out of the method, out of the block. Whenever the object is created, this we will create these instance variables will be initialized. Whenever the object is destroyed, we will destroy that also. Unlike local variables, we may use the lot of specific access modifiers for the instance variables. And if we do not specify anything, it will come with the default. Initialization of the instance variables is mandatory and default value is a 0. Instance variables can be accessed by the only creating objects. So that is the limitation. And the third one. And also in the instance variables, what? Every instance variables, every object have its own copy of the instance variable. There is a main key. Static variables. Static variables are called the class variables, class level variables. Like unlike instance variables, we have only one copy of static variables. These are created for the startable program execution and it will destroy when the initialization of static variables is not mandatory and default value is 0. If we access a static variable like instance variables, the compiler will show the message it will show the program and automatically it will give us by the class name. So this is the way of accessing the static variables. For static variables, we don't need to create any objects. What is the difference between instance variables and static variables? Instance variables, like the objects, each object has its own copy of the instance variable. Static variables means it's only single variable for all the objects. And if it changes any instance variables, it will not reflect any other object. But if you change the static variable value, it will change all the other objects. So that is the thing. And also for instance variable, we can access object references, and this one we can access the directly class name. So syntax is like this. So this is the example, our example for the variables, Java variables. Hope you guys clear about